Tuesday morning, 22nd of February, and it is me, it is you, it is Lebang, and we got a couple of people joining us a little later on, so it's going to be a nice busy morning. Some This Is Us a little later. We're going to talk a bit about optimism. Oh yeah, a whole lot of other good stuff. So stick around. Good morning, everybody. Morning, Lebang. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, G? I'm good. I feel like you're not saying it properly. It's
what?
The 22nd of the second month of the 2022. You have to say the
God,
whole.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, wow. We're into that, are we? Oh, wow,
Yeah.
wow. Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite a biggie. All right, so...
Yeah.
So, you know what? We had a numerologist on the other day, actually, Brad, and he told us that the number 22 is my number, right? So...
Yes.
Today would be the 22nd of the 2nd. There's no 22 there, but it's a 2. And 2022. But if you add the 2s from the beginning of 2022 and the 02 from February, you got 3 22s. That makes
exciting.
Nice.
It's a lot of 2s.
I wonder what that means. The numerologists in our audience can tell us, but there we go. If you're into that stuff, I'm sure that today is a hugely important day. I had forgotten that these numbers all lined up like this, but hell, I'll take it.
I had forgotten as well, and then I looked up at the clock, and I'm like, why is it written 2222? Is this thing broken? Then I was like, no, it's one of those days where we must make a fuss and stuff. Nice. So, yeah.
We'll take something. It. So, Shame, hanging out with Jay says, morning, friends. Feeling a little emotional today, but you got to get me through this morning. But got you to get me through this morning. Well, you know what?
Sorry,
we'll try.
Jay.
We'll try and help out, Jay. What, you come to the right place. I mean, I've got the emotional intelligence of a plank of wood, but luckily for you, the bug is here. So
I'm with you, Jay. I'm with you. If ever you're feeling down, just look at the color of G's shirt, and that should brighten up at least some part of your morning.
Damn right. There we go.
Yeah.
Exactly. I had there's some kind of power failure here. I think one of these, these guys who put in the fiber.
Yeah.
They cut through some cable last night. So I went to sleep with no lights on and thought, I hope it's back by the time we start the show this morning. And luckily it was.
Yeah.
I always think about those guys who have to go out in the middle of the night, especially when it's raining or whatever. I don't know if they even do, but you go out in the middle of the night and you have to then dig holes and fix cables, and that can't be easy. I mean, I'm not saying we, feeling sorry for them, because it's a job, and these days we need people who can do those kinds of jobs, because that's how we keep the whole place going. But I just thought about it last night. I was like, imagine being out there now trying to put cables together that some idiot has gone through with a back actor.
Yeah, no, like your complaints are different to theirs. Like your complaint is, man, my lights are out. There's man, we're out here digging at these hours, and they really do sometimes, man. They stay out till late. My brother actually works with some of the, I guess, the camps that do these things, and the drama is so entertaining. Like if you arrive in a community with like 20 guys that are going to start digging, and none of them are from that community, the community doesn't let you work. They don't let you work. They literally just block you. No, they stop you and they say, well, why didn't you ask us if any of us want to help? Because this is our home. We'll be the ones that are going to use this. So let us participate. So I'm not mad at it. I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. But like, maybe collaborate instead of just like not let people work. So what they end up having to do is, before they start any work, any digging, they have to ask like around the community, is there anybody looking for work? And then if there's at least 10 of them from, the hood, then it's a smooth job. But I'm for it. Like the community's really been doing the most these days. Like they are the cops, and they are like, the Robin Hood.
I mean, people are starting to kind of look to themselves, which is good, because I think they've realized like you can't rely on government for all this stuff.
Yeah, not at all.
But I wanted the most important news story of the day today, without a doubt, this is incredible. A guy had his penis frozen. Did you hear about this?
Oh no.
That's
not in my algorithm. My algorithm doesn't show me that. Sadly.
Because you don't care about that. You don't have the kind of depth of feeling that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
so,
see
this is in the Winter Olympics, all right?
Yeah.
So this is the story. Perhaps the worst part of it all for Finland's Remi Lindholm is that it was not even the first time that it had happened. Such was the chance of athletes suffering frostbite, freezing conditions at the Winter Olympics. Had already seen the blue men's 50-kilometer cross-country ski delayed by an hour, shortened to a 30-kilometer event. By the way, cross-country skiing has got to be one of the hardest things you could do because you have to go uphill on skis. Just imagine that for a second. Imagine having these long skis that are at least, I don't know, half a meter to a meter long in front of you and about 30 centimeters behind, and then your foot in the middle of that, and you have to go uphill. Do you know how damned exhausting that is? If you've ever been in a pair of skis, you'll know what I'm talking about. But even those alterations could not save Lindholm from an unbearable fate. The immediate concern for this 24-year-old, in the aftermath of completing the final event, was thawing out his frozen penis. A heat pack eventually helped him salvage the situation at the end of what was a grueling race. However, having spent 1 hour and 16 minutes on the course in howling winds and appendage-threatening temperatures of minus 17 degrees, he was understandably left in a tremendous amount of pain. You can guess which body part was a little bit frozen when I finished, he told Finnish media. It was one of the worst competitions I've been in. I was just battling through. When the body parts started to warm up after the finish, the pain was unbearable. Poor Lindholm suffered a similar incident at a competition in Finland last year with the thin suits and underlayers worn by racers offering minimal protection from the extreme cold. Now, can I ask a question? The Olympics is meant to be this top of the heap kind of competition where you've got the very best in the world competing and all the technology that can go into sport to making people faster and better and stronger and all this stuff. You would think they'd figure out how to stop this poor man's penis from freezing. It's happened before.
You'd think he'd figure out that maybe I shouldn't be participating in this thing again. I mean, the first time it happens, run, bro. Just like the universe is talking to you. Absolutely. And just let it go. To try again and have that happen to you a second time really, really is like you're letting the red flag just get redder. And now you can't blame the Olympics.
There's no amount of gold that you could offer me in winning a race if it meant that my penis was going to get frostbite. Sorry. I'm not interested.
No. It's a hard no. It's a hard no.
Exactly.
How do you explain that? Twice. Nah.
Twice. This is a story from the BBC. It's not some made up thing from the tabloids. So you must know it's real. So a lot of jokes coming in. Ha ha, the people have jokes. Congo Chris says his penis is finished.
Oh, love that.
It's just unbelievable. So John says you no longer need masks in New York. When is South Africa going to wake up? Morning, South Africa. Yeah, well, we're still wearing masks and people still think it's really important. Like just yesterday, I had someone say to me, "Where's your mask?" And I was like, well, sorry. Yeah, it's in my pocket. But I mean, how dumb.
Are we still saying that to each other?
And we're still in a state of emergency, is it? National state of emergency? Something like that. And people like Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and Cyril, they're like, nah, we're not going to stop this yet. There's still a worry. What's the worry? Come on. Get over it now. It's done. Talk about finished. This pandemic is finished now. Finished.
It's finished. Yeah, no, it's done. It'll be any moment now. Like when something very chaotic is happening in the country and there's uproar, then they'll distract us and say, "Oh no, but guys, COVID's over. You can take off your masks now," so that we can try and forget. It's all very silly. We know it's coming. Just let us just keep it moving.
Here's something interesting about the 2202-2022 that you mentioned. Kapamba says it's palindromic, which means you can read it from back and front, right? It's the same number back to front. And then you can also read it upside down because the 2 on a digital clock can be read upside. So that's bloody amazing. And that's called an ambigram, which is something new I did not know. So thank you, TP and Kapamba.
Thank you. Jeez, that I didn't know. And when are we ever going to get this again, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I
This
must
is
have
cool.
had this in what on the 10th of the 1st of the year 10,001.
Yeah, I don't know if they made a fuss though.
Yeah, 1001. Yeah, not 10,001, 1001.
Yeah,
I don't know when else. I don't think they realized that it was that day back in those days. They were
yeah,
running
no,
around,
like
trying to
finding cattle,
trying to
trying to
stay
eat.
alive. Right.
Yeah, it was different back then. That's my heart. No, that's my heart. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, different
So
times.
a joke from Chris T here, who's on fire this morning. He says Ramaphosa, Poser, is still trying to flatten the curve, hence the state of disaster. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only disaster is what's going on in government.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people joking about the frozen penis. A lot of people like that. First thing in the morning on a Tuesday is to laugh at someone else's frozen penis. You people are
Who would
mean.
have thought? Who knew? That's how we wake you guys up. Cool.
Sure.
Cool.
Hey, that's what gets people awake.
Yeah. Frozen
That's what makes it
penises.
happen. So how are you? What's been going on with you?
Oh, dude, I'm good, man. I'm just like in a bit of like a state of like low key panic. So my son's school's having like cake day. Do you remember cake day? Where it's
Mm-mm.
like you don't remember? You guys didn't have cake
I don't know
day?
what cake day is. No,
Oh
tell
yeah,
us.
1800s. So basically, like the kids in his class get to bake whatever they want. So like cookies, brownies, muffins, and then they sell them to the rest of the school. So
Oh,
the first thing that they said in the letter was like, please make sure you try your best to bake them. We really want this to be like original, blah blah blah. I'm sitting there like, Woolies, where we at with the muffins?
yeah.
Like, no one. I don't have the time to really sit and bake. And I wish I could, but I just don't. The second thing that's giving me a little bit of anxiety is that this thing is the day before payday. Come on, people. Like,
Mm,
no. What are you guys thinking? It made me
yeah.
realize that like I have different life problems to a lot of other people. And then the third thing is that like they want so much involvement from us as parents. It's like
Yeah.
if parents can come and help set
Exhausting.
up tables and tablecloths, if you guys can come help and you know with the decorations, if you guys can, and I'm like, should I be a housewife? Maybe
Hmm.
these are the things that would fill me up and fill up my day because clearly there's a market for that is the point.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's a whole cake day sale thing, so I'm gonna like participate and be like that mom who's there,
Oh, so
doing the things.
you're going in, huh? You're going in hard. You're going to do this properly.
I decided let me just for the first time in my life actually just like do it and like be fully fledged. I want my kid to like point at me and be like, "That's my mom," to all his friends, and let's just see how it goes. I'll interact with like all like the rich white ladies in the neighborhood and just see how their lives are, on the other side, and just like
Oh
chat
well.
with them.
I I
Yeah.
think I think there's enough pressure on parents. Like you don't need to add cake day to the pressure list.
Dude, the
Jesus.
day before payday, it's a lot. And then there's like a picnic the day after that. It's like every day in the week, there's something where parents have to presently avail themselves and be there. I'm like, we're already sending these kids to the school. Aren't they just like, learning and then ship them
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
us? No, not
Uh,
anymore.
and you got four of these things. You've got four children to worry about. So
Well,
this
four
is
and a
cake day.
half. So yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. But it's cool. I'm excited. Like maybe I can be, that mom that we all saw on TV and stuff growing up in movies who was just like
You know,
there wearing pink with her
but
availability.
all right. So if I had to bake, and I don't know how many dads out there are doing this now. There might be
Yeah.
some single dads who had to do this as well. But if I had to bake, I think I would ruin I've never tried to bake anything. I couldn't man, I couldn't bake cookies, and I've seen how people do that. It looks pretty easy. I think I'd screw that up.
Yeah, no, it's not easy, dude. I used to bake like space cakes in varsity, and that's like
Yeah.
really the only baking that I did, and I'm not going back there. It was just a dark time in my
Well,
life.
it also wouldn't be appropriate to send like space cakes to to school.
Hey, hey, hey.
Imagine that. You
Yo.
some kids would think you were the coolest mom ever, and some kids would be like in such trouble they would
Yo,
never
dude,
get out of
no.
it.
Nah, nah, nah. Those other moms would not have it. But it's interesting the concept of like actually having to do the baking for like
Mm.
a modern day family. Like you guys are working, blah, blah, blah. Like who's gonna have the time to stop? If you're lucky to have like maybe gran around for sure, go all. But like generally, I'm anticipating that people are just gonna buy stuff at the shops. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, do they get to keep the money that they sell these cakes for?
Yeah. It's for the kids. You know, the kids decide if they want another bicycle, a couple of more bicycles, or like whatever they want for the school. So that's the fun part. It's like we're teaching kids how to use money. And as we both know, that's insanely important. So it's just the exercise of, you know, these kids having to buy and sell from each other and all that jazz. But we'll see how it goes. I'll give you like feedback. I'm just hoping something exciting happens. Like, oh, you know,
what did he sell $1 million worth of cake? I don't think that's gonna happen.
Hey man, hey, these kids are balling.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, a lot of people saying to you, "Oh, you decided to have kids, live with the consequences." But I mean, listen, this is mean because I would prefer a world where people are having more kids than people are having less, as long as they're good parents. And I know that you do a really good job with your kids. My sad reality is that you look around and you see a whole bunch of kids who are not being raised by parents who care about them, or are orphaned, or you know, they're living in real misery. And to me, that's a lot sadder. I would rather have someone like you who is a responsible parent for 4 or 5 kids than have someone who's not even around and their kids growing up on their own. That's horrible.
No, definitely. No, I agree with you completely. Like, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, sure, it's a lot, but I'm definitely going to do it because I chose it for sure.
Yeah, and TP is pretty much saying the same thing. The more kids, the better, just as long as you can afford it. Well, I mean, I wonder what's going to happen to big families, because obviously that's in retreat, right? There are far fewer people who have big families these days. There's something really nice about big families. I know one family where I think they're 5 kids, and these kids they're all so different, but it's amazing to see how they all back each other up and support each other and all that stuff. So I think that's lovely.
Yeah, I think the concept of like the kids growing up together and really having each other's backs is what I like the most, because I don't worry as much as I would. And I know that now they're still very small, but when they get to like 7, 8, 9, like they're just going to be running off and doing their own thing and like, you know, teaching each other different things. And as you're mentioning, they have such different personalities. No 2 kids are the same, even in the same household. So it's interesting just to see like their little personalities like bubble up and become whatever it becomes. So yeah.
Tell me, what is the going rate for like pocket money these days? Because I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't even get pocket money. My parents were like, nah. I think by the time my sister rolled around, there was pocket money. But for me, not a chance. It was like, no, we're not giving you money to spend at the tuck shop on sweets and shit. So no, you don't get any.
Well, for me, growing up, Fridays was like 10, 15 rand when I got to like grade 7. But like my kids, it's like a limit of 10 rand every Friday. So I don't like to go over that because I don't want them to just be wild. But that's just me, and I'm just
less than you got.
Yeah. No, they must wait. They must get up the ranks a little bit and just like work their way up. Also, there's like 5 of them, so you know, just gotta budget. But what's interesting is the other kids in the school. The other kids in the school get like $50 a day. Sometimes it's like ridiculous amounts because there's no hard cash. They use this app where they load funds onto like the app, and then the kids can just go off. Yo, dude, it's wild what some of these kids are getting for tuck. It's really wild. They don't even know what lunch boxes are. It's tuck every day. It's just tuck shop every day. It's crazy.
I can still, if I think really carefully, I can still smell the smell of what a lunchbox smells like. You know when you open that lid after it's been in your bag for like most of the morning? Oh man,
that tired sandwich, that sad sandwich that you just have to eat now.
Jeez. God bless all the moms out there who still do lunchboxes. God bless you. You are spectacular humans. Congo Chris making fun of me, saying Gareth had to gather berries and fight off mammoths for pocket money. Yeah, all right. I got you.
No lies detected.
Yeah, no, not at all. Steve E is suggesting the kids need to form a union. Hey, I'm sure that they do gang up on you. Hey, Lebang?
Well, not yet. They try, but I'm quite like, I'm a bit strict. I won't lie to you. Like I'm that fun mom, but I'm definitely like, if the answer's no, it's no. If you haven't earned something, if you haven't done your chores, if you haven't given me something, then I'm not going to give you what you want. And that's just like, I don't want to raise a bunch of assholes, dude. I'm not trying to raise little douchebags that are going to go into the world and continue being douchebags out there. I need to raise little kings and queens. I'm quite stern on them. So
Well,
yeah, no, they cool. We cool.
You have these kids, but Elon Musk has something like 5 or 6 kids, doesn't he?
Is it?
He's also he's got a whole tribe.
Oh, he's
So
a
Sharon
trillionaire.
says she follows the family called the Radfords. They have 22 children, 11 girls and 11 boys. Joe.
The Radfords.
I've
Is this
never
that guy
heard.
with like 6 wives?
I don't know.
Sounds
That
like a
sounds
show on
rough.
TLC.
Imagine having 22 little versions of you running around. Oh no,
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
happens. It happens. And it happens for different reasons. Like I know like in KZN, there's like a big, and it's not just in KZN, just as far as my knowledge, there's a big thing about like having more than one wife, like whether you're a king, whether you're a business, it doesn't matter what you do, just as long as you can afford to have as many wives as you want, and all of those wives are happy with each other, go for it. And it's like, it's almost like you're giving back to your ancestors, because your ancestral name is going to live for longer because there's so many kids. And it's crazy because usually the guys that end up doing that, it's called Istem, the guys that end up doing that end up being like so rich, dude. It's crazy because obviously they have to upkeep like all these different households. But on the traditional side, it's actually really a beautiful thing to see. It's like you want to extend your family surname, and you're giving back to your ancestors by having more children, and they will in turn bless you in your work and in your life and blah blah blah. It's like a whole thing. There's a whole show on it.
Oh, I know, and that's why, for example, we can't keep up with which Zuma children are which ones, because he doesn't even know. He's like number 21. Come here.
Yeah. No,
that kind of
Zuma's taking it to the top though. Like, and yeah, and his kids are also just. But also, imagine if Zuma was your dad. Like, Gareth, if Zuma was your dad, you would walk around with like no care in the world. Like, you would tell people where to get. Zuma's my dad, bro. That's my pops.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can see his kids do. I mean, that's why they've all got such an attitude and such entitlement. I mean, they all think they're a big deal. Yeah. So this is a good point. Kids bring you money for sure. Well, I don't know where you live, Robin. Usually it's the opposite. They cost you money. I don't know what your situation is, but if you've got your kids out there working in the mines for you, you think they do bring you money?
Kids, you need money to have kids and for them to, live whatever life you want to provide for them. They make you work harder, and dare I say, they give you a sense of purpose. A lot of my peers and stuff who get to the age of 32 and have just been working all their 20s and are just like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know what I'm doing this for. What legacy am I leaving? I'm just gonna die and go forth. And then they have kids. And then they suddenly get this feeling of like, this is why I'm doing this. I've got a sense of, and you work harder. If you want your kids to go to Michael House and Hilton, you're going to work your ass off. You're not just going to be like, well, I'll just put them down the road. The kids do come with money. I won't lie.
What you're saying is absolutely right. Like for many people, it gives a sense of purpose. And there are lots and lots of people who don't have a purpose in their life. And also, I've got to say this, which is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but I know a lot of men and women who have done really well in business. They've been very successful. They live in nice houses. They go on holiday all the time. They might even be in the most like awesome marriage, but there's still something missing for those people. They'll be the first to admit it. They go, well, if only we'd had kids or whatever, because that is a surefire way to feel like you have a purpose in the world. It's like you're making a little person, and they're going to go out there. And as you said earlier, you hope your kids don't end up being assholes who make the world worse. You want them to be the kind of people who make the world better. And I think a lot of people who have replaced that need for, first of all, for a relationship with somebody, and second of all, that need for parenting, for actually nurturing and raising the next generation of people, and essentially shooting the human race into the next generation of living and the future and all that. There's some, you buy a piece of the future and as an investment, and your kids either make that investment grow or they make it shrink. And for people who don't have that, and I'm not looking for trouble. You know, I don't have kids. I'm not looking for a fight with anybody who's going to argue with me now about like how their decisions are more important. There is, and this is going to be the controversial part, there is something selfish about people who decide not to have kids. They are not investing in the future. They're living their life for themselves for now. I'm one of those people. I can say it. And as much as we say on this show often, we give parents a hard time, legitimately so, because a lot of parents are shit at their jobs and they are raising little monsters who are going to make the world worse, not better, right?
Yeah.
I get all of that. And I do think it's important to bring a bit of balance to this conversation because parents aren't going to stand up for themselves. They're too busy. They're too busy looking after their kids. And it's not about them. And the most unselfish people I've ever met are mothers and fathers who've put their life and their hard work and all of their effort and their time into their children. Thank goodness for those people because they make the best people of the next generation. So we can sit here as people who haven't had kids and we can say, oh, well, we've made our life choices and the earth is full and there are too many people anyway. And I want to have my fun and blah, 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 right? You can do all of that. But there's also got to be some part of you that acknowledges that those people who do have kids, they're the ones who are really invested in the future. And a lot of the things that, look, they're bad parents and they're good parents, but a lot of the things that make people feel meaning and purpose in their life has to do with what your legacy is going to be. And if your legacy is going to be business or it's going to be, you know, some great creation that you made, some innovation, some change you've brought to the world, fine. But for most people, it's going to be their kids. And I think that's good. I think that's better than...
I think we're allowed to, you know, but also like if you don't have kids, don't feel bad. There's like a guy who just recently got a vasectomy and he caught like there was so much attention on him because you know, here's a black man saying, I got a vasectomy, a young guy's like 28. And now everybody wants to know, how did it go? What's the process? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, if there's more people that are going to do and choose to do a vasectomy because they're just genuinely not interested, they're not really going to make great fathers. They're choosing to not participate in the evolution of humankind. So that's cool too. You know, we all have our roles.
It's also a responsible decision. I mean, like, you know, if you really... you can't afford it and you're having 10 kids, that's bad for the kids and for you. And I understand a lot of people who are poor think about it this way. They go, well, there will be 10 people to look after me when I'm old. That's how a lot of people think, right? I know it's wrong, but that is what people... So, right or wrong, that is how people think in some places.
Yeah. And the grant.
I also get it that people go, and the grant. I also get it that people go, nah, I'm opting out of this. I don't need to make more of me. There's less ego involved here. I've always said the greatest heroes of all that supersede everybody else in the hero stakes in my book are the people who adopt, because they're adopting other people's children and deciding to raise them properly. I mean, that's just, and with love and all the rest of it, that's amazing. So you do you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Dogoza says, I'm living my best life without kids. Those little people are so expensive. See? He's got a point.
Yeah.
I think in the modern day, your kid costs you about $1 million before they even go to university. Facts. Yeah, they did that calculation. They actually said if you want to put your kid through a good school, you want to clothe them, you want to get them all their textbooks, you want to make sure they have all the things they need at home, blah, blah, blah. You're talking at least, I think, before they even get to the age of 18, you're talking between 1 and 2 million rand if you want to do it all in the best possible way. Now, obviously, you can cut corners, and many people do, but that's what they say. They did this calculation. This is about 10 years old, though, that calculation. So it may have gone up.
Probably more now. But you know what's funny, Gareth? The money just sort of comes out of it, arrives. You find it. You know,
you find it.
Yeah.
I know one of my friends. She has also 5 kids.
Yeah.
She has 4 girls and 1 boy, and she and her husband. Yeah, middle class people. They're not earning millions. Neither of them has a job that's pulling in like big bucks. They live, and their kids are growing up happy and well adjusted and all the rest of it. So it depends on the people. It really does. Patrick says, if you are married and you're not sure you could be the best parents, I give kudos to them for recognizing not to have children. Always depends on the situation. Absolutely.
True.
Yeah. So I mean, let's all just take a a bit of a less judgmental seat when we view other people, because we don't know what they're going through. Chris says we are not selfish if we don't have kids. 100% we have overpopulated this planet and are exhausting resources. There are enough. Well, they say actually, Chris, that's completely wrong. If you squeezed all of humanity into the state of Texas, there would still be room for us to expand into the rest of the globe. We are not approaching that scary number they used to tell us in the 80s of overpopulation, where the resources won't match. There is less starving and less hunger in the world now with our 7 billion people than there was in 1900 with a tenth of that. So that's a fact, whether you like it or not, Chris. I'm sorry. You're just wrong on that one. Here's an interesting one. I'm making a bee outfit, says Tracy, as we speak for one of my boys. His school is having a soapbox derby race. Being a parent, the most unselfish thing ever. Making a bee outfit. Well, good luck.
Can we please see it, Tracy, when it's done? Just, you know.
Send us a picture of your son in a bee outfit. We want to see that.
Awesome. Sure.
Michael says, you look so beautiful today with that light on you, Lebang. Yeah, what happened? Did you switch off the lights?
No, like I'm literally sitting like directly in front of the window, and like the sun is now saying, you know, I like your face, so I will just be in that direction. So yeah, plus, you know, like pregnancy, it does this like where you're like your face really just like opens up and stuff like that. So yeah, fun times.
Yeah. Well, lots of comments here on all kinds of things to do with overpopulation, with kids, with parenting, with deciding not to have kids, with deciding to have kids. We've got to move on, though. It is past. Let's look at some headlines. There are lots of things happening in the world that we need to pay attention to. David Hockney is the artist about to be displayed, his self-portrait in the UK for the first time. So a new self-portrait by David Hockney is to go on show for the first time in the UK. The painting of him will feature in a collection of his works at the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge. So do you want to see what the famous self-portrait looks like?
Sure.
I mean, I can show you some version of it. I can't show you the whole thing. The acrylic painting shows him dressed in a tweed suit with a paintbrush in one hand and a cigarette in the other. Here they say the Fitzwilliam Museum's picture galleries, where Hockney's drawings and paintings and digital artworks will be shown, is going to enable Hockney and other artists of the past to speak directly to each other for the first time. So I don't know what this means. When art galleries say this stuff, a lot of it just leave me in the dust. Like, I'm never sure what exactly they're talking about. And also, I don't understand why people pay the kinds of money that they do for art. Just yesterday on Collectomania, we were looking at digital art, these NFTs. But here's the painting of David Hockney that is going to go on show at that gallery, the Fitzwilliam in London, and it'll probably be bought by somebody who's willing to part with a couple of £1 million. It's amazing. I mean, this is great for artists, because to know that there are people out there who will pay £1 million for something that you paint, awesome. Go out there and paint, everybody. That's all I can say.
Good for you.
Yeah, for sure. I don't understand it, but you know what? There it is.
I don't really care for it, but it's important, like, just to keep the art alive, for sure.
So Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula on Monday released a monthly road safety stat report for the first time. He said by trafficking patterns, they could customize interventions in a more meaningful way. In January, more than 2,700 vehicles were impounded as authorities set up over 1,600 roadblocks, where more than 74,000 motorists were pulled over. He said during the month under review, more than 600 crashes occurred. And he said they recorded 637 fatal crashes, accounting for 774 fatalities. That's a 75% increase on the previous year. But you know why, right? Because the previous year was in the middle of lockdown.
It was a pandemic.
Right. People weren't traveling as much. So he said it must be borne in mind that in January, the country was under level 3 COVID restrictions, the curfew in place. Of these crashes and fatalities, 184 were reported in the festive season alone. So that's interesting. I don't want to be glib about this, but I don't think 637 fatal crashes is that bad.
compared to like previous years and like numbers, this is seeming,
right?
I feel like we're doing all right. We're doing a bit better.
I think we're probably getting better. Also, look,
Hmm.
you've got to understand, like cars are getting better at saving lives because cars are made better, and we are probably driving in more safe vehicles than we've ever driven in. You know, those old cars made of steel and iron where they didn't have airbags or seat belts or any of that
Mm,
stuff. You know, you can't compare these stats with like the stats from 1980 or 70 or 60 or 50. But the
for
fact
sure.
is, like, I still think it's probably too high. But this is going to be part of what happens on the roads. You can't actually make people drive better with rules because most
Mm,
people don't care about those rules. You're always going to get drunk drivers. You're always going
yeah.
to get irresponsible drivers. You're going to get people who speed. You're going to get people who are tired behind the wheel. There are a lot of things that account for this. Truck
Yeah.
drivers, for example, who have to drive long distances. I don't know how those
Yeah.
guys stay awake. Taxi drivers who are driving
Dude.
unroadworthy vehicles. It doesn't matter how skilled they are. One of your wheels comes off, which I've seen happen. Not, I haven't seen the taxi's wheel actually come off in front of me, but you've seen the taxi on the side of the road with one of its wheels missing, right?
Mm,
And you
mm,
know that
mm.
that thing rolled off while they were traveling. Now, if you're going at
Yeah.
120 kilometers, that's going to happen. And there's absolutely nothing that Fikile can do to make rules that's going to make that better. But he did say
Yeah.
this is most of the crashes took place on Saturdays and Sundays and Mondays. And
Mondays.
they say 90% of those crashes are human error or human behavior. So you may think it's mechanical or it's the roads. It's not. It's mostly people.
Yeah. Isn't that always the thing? What happened to
Mm.
the world? People.
That's exactly right. So, I mean, these are interesting stats, and it's always good to look at these because we get an idea of what level of responsibility or irresponsibility people are putting into the roads and onto the roads.
Yeah.
And at least you know what's going on out there, so you're not surprised when someone is drunk driving on a Sunday night at like 6 o'clock. You know what's happening,
And
right?
Gareth, side notes, a lot of people just don't know how to drive. A lot of people just buy
Spot
their
on.
licenses over the counter. They've never set foot in a car. It's
Right.
just it's bad. Like we just figuring it out as we go. And you see it more and more. I don't know if it's just me, but more and more I'm like, people just don't know how to drive anymore. On
Yeah,
the road. It's like, why is that person doing that? Oh, they don't know how to
absolutely.
drive. Yeah.
Well, you know, they joke about like you can buy your license in a lucky packet, eh? You know, these days you can.
Yeah. You
We
can
all
get
know
anything in
we
a lucky
all know
bracket.
somebody who got their driver's license
Yeah.
in a dodgy way. We all know them.
Yep. And it's easier and easier. Just like, make a call and you'll get it in like 6 weeks. You don't even step into the testing station anymore. They
Mm.
send it to your house as long as you've paid them enough and you sent them a picture. It's so bad. Oh, it's just nonsense. Damn.
Well, look at this quickly. I mean, this is a good point that Ruth makes. Probably most of those people are on cell phones. I don't know, or diplomats. I'm not sure what that means, but cell phones,
Yeah,
yes.
cell
I mean,
phones.
we
Ruth, you're
we
right.
we discount this, but and the number of people I drive past, and you see the guy or girl is driving slowly, right, in the fast lane,
Mm,
and you go
mm,
past them and you see they're on the phone.
mm.
Come on, man. I mean, listen, I have used the phone when I'm driving. I think all of us have, and I know it's stupid, and I'm getting better at it. I do it a whole lot less than I've ever done it
Good.
before because I don't
Good.
like this. I don't like the fact that anything could happen at any moment. Obviously, I think as you get older, you get more responsible too. I don't drive drunk anymore because now, when I have to go out and I have to do something where there may be or may not be drinks or like a party or something, I just Uber. But that wasn't
Yeah.
available like 20 years ago. So I'm surprised that our numbers haven't come down even more. These days, people I suppose think maybe that's expensive, but
Mm.
it's worth it. Do you want a car that's wrecked and a limb that's broken, or worse, death? Or will you pay the 400 Rand or whatever it costs you to get from A to B?
It's just
No,
discipline, G. It's just discipline. Like if you have a vehicle and you know that you're going out to a place where you'll be consuming alcohol, just leave the car at home. Get someone to
right.
fetch you. Make another plan. Be responsible because when you're driving, you're not just driving for yourself in your car. You're driving for all the other people around you, because if anything happens, there's a direct effect on them. So it's just discipline, and taking responsibility. I mean, we can't lie. Like being in the car driving, and then like you get a notification, ring ring. Like your first thing is, oh, let me quickly
grab my phone.
Oh, dude, it's it's a terrible habit. I'm also trying to curb it, but like now I just kind of put my phone in the bag. I don't put it in the cup holder anymore. I don't put it in between my lap anymore. It can't just be easily accessible, like if it's that important, I'll get to it.
Justin has an interesting tip here, and I don't know how many people do this, but Justin says, I turn off my mobile data when I drive. It's really helped me to not have to look at my phone because I don't get notifications. So that could be an idea.
Yeah. But what if you're streaming and you're listening to music?
That's also true. You know, a lot of these a lot of these cars, like the car I'm driving at the moment, you can charge your phone, but you put it on a little thing in the sort of center console, and you just close it up and leave it in there, and then you can use all the functions that it kind of speaks to the car. So it's like this Apple CarPlay, for example. And if you do need to listen to a WhatsApp message, it'll read the WhatsApp message to you, so you can hear it.
Really?
But you don't have to look at the screen. Yeah, that's clever. So if
if you're alone in the car,
sure.
But if you're not alone in the car, like I can't picture myself being in the car with all my kids and then I'm playing this WhatsApp message on loud. Like, no, they shouldn't be privy to that information. Like, no.
So here's a cryptic message here from dear Linda. She says, top news for me is what happened in the south of Joburg late afternoon yesterday. So tell us what it was, dear Linda.
Wasn't it that shooting where was it Rosettenville? I think what about happened? eight people got shot, like dead.
Jesus.
Dude, I don't know how that's like top news, but I may be wrong. But I know Begele was out there as well. Dog, they were like cops and robbers, from what I understand, classic cops and robbers. I may be wrong, but there was a shootout and 8 of them got shot dead and another 8 got arrested. So it was like a big deal. And eventually, like Begele got there and was like, yeah. Sorry, these things happen, but look at us doing our jobs. You know how they are when these things occur, but I think that's what she could be referring to.
Okay, well, just to wrap up this thing about phones when you're driving, Greg says it's called iPhone drive mode. You can turn it on. I didn't know about that, so I'm obviously not paying attention, but I will. Justin says he's downloaded all his music and podcasts, so no need for mobile data.
Nice, Justin.
I love this. This lighting on you is hilarious this morning. It looks like you're in a dark cave. Terrifying. Yeah, that's better. There we go. So now we have the light.
I'll just sit back.
Download the music beforehand, says Nico. Yeah, streaming is so dangerous. I've nearly written off my car so many times, says Robin.
Oh my
God. Dogoza says, I never look at my phone when I'm driving, even when I do get a notification. It's about self-control.
Yeah.
All right.
Discipline.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. And those people who sit at traffic lights on Facebook or WhatsApp with windows open, oblivious of their surrounds. Oh, I saw that yesterday. There was a guy in a bakkie next to me at a stop street. And, a robot. And the robot had gone green. But he was still, I went, and then he was still sitting there like 30 seconds later because he was busy on his phone.
Or taking videos. Like, it's so tempting to like record yourself with your sunroof and your favorite song is playing. Like, we have to let go of these things, man. It's actually not cool. We're not encouraging like the right things if we continue doing these things. Like, it's nonsense. It's really not cool.
So Pauline says it was a cash and transit heist in the south of Joburg. And then, Carl says, dude, it wasn't a shooting. It was a fucking war. Most of it happened in my folks' street. It was hectic. 9 hijackers were killed. Wow. Okay. This is very, very interesting. I want to know more about this. I'll look it up. Get into this. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was hectic.
If my husband is on his phone while we're in the car, I tell him to pull over and let me drive. He hates it when I drive, so it always works. That's from TP. Okay. All right. Very good. Well, we've got one other news headline, 2 others to be clear. This morning, the first one is about Ace Magashule, who says that the charges against him are trumped up. Yeah. He says pre-trial proceedings in the multi-million rand asbestos corruption case have been postponed till the 10th of June. He says that these are nothing but a political ploy to tarnish his image. He and 3 others have filed an application to have the charges against them withdrawn. It, of course, has to do with theft, corruption, and money laundering relating to a 250 million rand asbestos project in the Free State. And he says it's all made up. Who believes him?
Say I.
No, there's no one. Wait, let me listen. Anybody? Can you hear anyone saying? No, nobody believes him.
No one.
Dear Linda says, that is right. There were 3 cops shot and 8 robbers shot, 9 still at last. I think that must be a typo of some kind. At large, probably. 9 still at large.
No, not at large. I think they arrested the other 8 or 9. Wow. So that's a lot of people. So 8 plus 8 is 16, right? Like, so you're telling me like a squad of like that many people just came. Ooh, that's
apparently, according to Tina Turner's Calves, I love that name, the pilot of the helicopter was apparently shot too. How the hell? Good Lord. South of Joburg is rough, man.
But Mbulelo says it. Gareth, Mbulelo says there's a certain like line that you must draw in terms of how far south you go, how far west you go. Because like it just gets gully. It gets gully down there.
My God. All right, finally, the BBC reporting this morning that, of course, since Donald Trump has been banned from Twitter, he has been largely silent, but he has started his own new platform, which is coming out now, and is called Truth Social. Donald Trump's social media platform, Truth Social, has launched in limited form on the US Apple App Store. The app had similarities to Twitter. Mr. Trump was banned from Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube last year. Some early users had difficulties registering their accounts. Project lead, former Congressman Devin Nunes, was expected to be fully operational by the end of March. Some of those trying to register have been told, due to massive demand, we have placed you on our wait list. So they're busy sorting this out still. But there we go.
That's hilarious.
I don't know. I mean, as much as I would love to have, and I feel that we are weaker and we are cheaper and we are uglier for the fact that we can't hear from Donald Trump, because at least he was entertaining. I don't want to join a new social media network. I'm not even on TikTok. I know you are, Lebang. I could give a damn. I'm like, this isn't for me. I've got on my phone, remember, I've taken off Twitter and I've taken off Facebook. So all I've got left on my phone is Instagram and WhatsApp. That's it. Oh, LinkedIn. But I mean, who goes onto LinkedIn on their phone, right?
I do.
You do? Look at you.
Yeah, just to get an update, see what's going on in the, that side of the world. But there's too many social media apps. There's too many. Freaking many.
And we were just talking about how when you're driving, you don't need distractions. Not just when you're driving, anywhere, your whole life, you've got enough of this stuff going on. It's enough.
No.
It's enough. We don't need any more. I'm not going to join any more social media platforms. I'm done.
And also, not Truth Social, guys. Isn't there like a creative team in the background coming up with like cool names? Like, no Gen Zer is going to be like, let me quickly get onto Truth Social and update my thoughts. It just doesn't sound like the kind of...
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. There's just such a demand for people to be busy on all of these things at once.
Yeah.
You watch what happens. It'll be successful. It won't be as successful as some of the others, but it'll be there and it'll be strong. Watch. I mean, if it's anyone who
what's the X factor? What's so special? Like, what makes truth factor? Also, can you chat directly to Trump and be like, "Yo, Trump, I'm having a bad day, bro."
He's not listening to you, but the fact is the guy is entertaining and he can pull a crowd. Yeah. He's proven that time and time again. He filled up stadiums. He's got lots of supporters. They don't like and they don't believe in Twitter. They don't believe in Instagram or Facebook. They think that those things are owned by people who don't care about them and their politics. So it'll have a following. It's not going to be huge. It's not going to be the biggest thing ever, but it'll be enough. And I think there'll be a lot of people on there. Anyway.
Definitely.
Don't you wish that Jacob Zuma would start his own social media? Don't you think that would be fun? I'm obviously
that. Nah.
Today.
Why did you?
You're breaking up, Lebang. I couldn't hear you. What was that?
I'm saying, why do you think it'll be fun? Because you clearly will love that.
Because for the same reasons that I found Trump entertaining, I found Jacob Zuma entertaining. I know that he's a crook and that he is one of those people who spearheaded our descent into chaos and basically handed over trillions of rands to his friends and to many people
Yeah.
who had no interest in helping South Africa along. But the guy was entertaining to watch and listen to. He was definitely better than the current one in terms of pure entertainment value. I'm not saying he was a good
Yeah.
person because people don't understand that. But to me, he was entertaining. And the same goes for Trump. Entertainment, man. And if you're on
That's all.
social media, it's not about the truth, it's about entertainment. Anyway,
Okay.
let's just have a look here. The G Star says, Gareth, did you watch any of the Juju trial? There was a Marxist professor of African song, as white as snow, punting her postmodern deconstructionism. Mr. Mark Oppenheimer picked her to pieces. I'm sure he did.
I loved that. I loved that. I didn't know what was going on. I just saw like a snippet of her getting literally torn into pieces. Like literally, she couldn't even respond to anything. She's like, well, this area is not my area of expertise nor my interest, and therefore I will not respond. And they were like, oh, so you don't want to respond? No. This area is not, like, she was just seeing her ass. I don't even know how she
now I
got
need
there.
to watch it. Now I need to watch
You
it.
do.
I'm sure there'll be clips.
Yeah. There's
I don't
plenty.
need
In
to see
fact,
the
that
whole
whole thing, I think that whole thing is like something worth like sitting down and just like watching it.
Well, if anything, it should show us. And again, I'll need to see it before I can comment properly on it. But I'm absolutely sure that this thing reads as you've just explained it. You've got a professor up there who's spent her life or his life in academia. They've never been challenged. They've never actually been forced to account for their stupid ideologies or their stupid beliefs. Their students don't challenge them because the students themselves become indoctrinated into this shit because they believe the professor and they need the marks to get the degree. So you have a whole bunch of really, really dumb people who are called professor, who are teaching people dumb, pointless, useless, and absolutely impractical things. And then suddenly they find themselves in a position where they have to explain what they're teaching, and then they're incapable of it, and they're unable to. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll watch it. If anything, this should tell parents that they shouldn't waste their money sending their kids to do stupid BA degrees.
Oh, burn.
Okay, so I'm going to go and watch that. G Star says you can
Please
get it on you can get it on the Afri Forum page. I didn't even know they had a page. Yeah. What is that on Facebook?
Is it on Facebook? Maybe. I've just been seeing a lot of them on Twitter. It's very interesting.
You know, it's so funny. The big thing here is G Star says she wouldn't admit that the song could motivate people to action. So if you sing a song about kill someone or kill something, that's clearly an incitement to violence, right? But it's the same people who say it is hateful and hurtful and it is violence to use words like, for example, to misgender somebody who's transgender. They'll tell you that. They'll say that's violence. Or they'll say that if you are cruel to someone on, let's say someone is suffering from a mental health issue and you say, well, I don't believe you actually have that mental health issue. Then they'll call that violence. They'll say your speech is violence, but they won't say that actual violent speech is violence.
Yeah.
So they
don't want to admit that.
All depends on your politics. It's such bullshit. Absolute nonsense. So thank you. I will take a look at that. Stuart says Oppenheimer's style is to run circles around stupid witnesses without aggression. He's such a great guy and super intelligent. He really is. He's been a guest on this show a couple of times, and I like Mark. Apart from the fact that he has Jan van Riebeeck hair, and there were some very funny memes going around this weekend with an old 20 Rand note with Jan van Riebeeck on, and then a picture of Mark Oppenheimer, which is hilarious.
Damn, that sucks.
All right, very good. Oh, Afri Forum have a YouTube page. I honestly didn't know this, so I'll have to go and look at that. I will have to go and look at that. There, Jesus, I can't even speak this morning. All right, very good. We will take your comments on the YouTubes. We'd like to hear from you this morning. And you can also send us email if you've got any suggestions on guests that you want to have on the show, things that you want to talk about, etc. Just send an email to contact@cliffcentral.com. Let me quickly tell you about Optimism. I mentioned this at the start of the show. Last week on our new podcast series, which is called Optimal Optimism, we discussed positive ways to interact with food and how to create a positive relationship with the fuel that you feed your body with. This week, we can get tips for interacting with children to enhance their spirituality, their fitness, their EQ, and their IQ, especially for parents. This is quite a useful one. Optimal Optimism podcast is made active by Virgin Active, streaming live on cliffcentral.com at 11 a.m. today, or get the podcast wherever you listen. So live at 11 a.m., make a note. Or if you want to get the podcast afterwards, you can do that too. We'd like to hear what you think of Optimal Optimism featuring our own Barrett Edelstein. Tell us if you like it. Sanele says, good on the cops. If they killed 9 hijackers, maybe they are not completely useless. Yeah. Gareth, if you're interested, Switzerland is mask-free and vaccine-certificate-free. Ooh, that's interesting. Michael just letting us know there that Switzerland has also moved out of the masks. Listen, I don't know why we're wearing these things. They've pretty much said everywhere in the world, including the CDC in America, that unless you're wearing an N95, which is the one that surgeons wear when they're operating on a patient, unless you're wearing those, it's fashion. It's not useful. So I don't know why we're still bothering. And if countries like Switzerland and if cities like New York, which were very much the center of kind of masking not so long ago. And also, can I just say that I don't understand why we have to wear masks on planes? Planes have these filters in them, which are constantly filtering the air, doing a hell of a lot better a job than a mask. What is the point of wearing a mask on a plane? That is probably the safest place from a clean, fresh air. They're constantly changing the air out with air on the outside. It's like the world's fastest, best air conditioner. I don't understand why in planes they're forcing people to still wear masks. That is dumb and has no basis in science. So for all the people who've been saying all the time, follow the science, you heard that a million times during the pandemic, follow the science. Then the science on this is clear. In planes, it is pointless wearing a mask. It is the stupidest place of all to be wearing a mask. So let's just move on from this immediately, please. It's completely dumb and unnecessary. All right. I have a plague doctor mask. I wear it mainly to attack the mental constitution of liberals. Says Corona's boring. That's hilarious. One of those plague masks with the beacon. That would be very cool.
Love that. I would like to see that. And I would probably run if I actually saw it in real life.
Right. All right, it is 7 o'clock. When we come back in a moment or two, we will have plenty more for you, including a little bit of This Is Us. So stick around for all of that. We've got Mankoe Insaba on, who is, of course, from the Kagiso Trust. And we'll find out a little bit about what's going on there and what's happening with This Is Us, along with Lebang, who you can see on the screen now, and Yatish Nasi, who will be joining us this morning too. Lots of cool things that we've got to discuss in the next hour. Stick around, cliffcentral.com. It is Tuesday, and if you look at the clock, if you look at the date, 22/02/2022. Very, very exciting. Completely cool. Take a picture of that clock, Lebang. We want to put it on the screen when we come back.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
But if you charge to 80%, you're actually going to charge faster at each charge point than what you would if you charge to 100%.
So essentially, charging from 0 to 10 is quicker than charging from 90 to 100.
Yes. If you look at
it's not like a constant.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also if you're charging at home and if you have 10 hours at night,
you
just put it in charge. It doesn't matter how fast you're going to charge.
Yeah.
You want it to be charged in the morning.
Yes.
Whether it finishes at 6 in the morning or at midnight, it doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
you want to replace your glass half empty mentality with a glass half full mindset. I'm Barrett Edelstein, and I present the Optimal Optimism podcast here on cliffcentral.com. Be empowered with practical tools around body, mind, food, exercise, and more to create a positive and abundant life. The Optimal Optimism podcast is made active by Virgin Active.
That's correct. And Optimal Optimism is on today, live at 11 o'clock. We've also got This Is Us on the way. It is Tuesday morning on cliffcentral.com. Lebang, Hosana, and me here to look after you. All right. A few things that are going on in the news. We'll get to those in a moment or two. We've also got some comments that I want to get to. You want to know, Lebang, about, you mentioned Cake Day earlier. But I want to know how much participation, you were talking also about the communities that kind of fix the electricity in their neighborhoods themselves, which is dangerous and complicated. But I was talking yesterday about how we've got this neighborhood WhatsApp group, and it's been very busy in the last 24 hours because people are busy trying to figure out whether they can fix a pothole themselves, right?
Oh, they're asking permission. Shouldn't they just do it?
Well, no. So it seems that what has to happen is that the municipality has to do it, because otherwise, if someone drives into what we've repaired as a community, apparently that we can be sued. So people can and can't take control of the problems in their neighborhood themselves. You have to figure out whether or not it's actually going to cause more trouble for you or less. So, I mean, that's just something interesting to throw in there. And yesterday was all over the place. Like, people were going crazy. This is almost where you don't want to be a part of, like, one of these groups. Yeah. But there are lots and lots of people talking about, what if you put soil in it? Can you put gravel in it? So you can't. You actually can't fix these things yourself. But there are organizations.
I've seen like random guys who, like, for the most part, really, they just look like homeless guys who are maybe begging on the side of the road or whatever. They literally just sit there with buckets and they fill the potholes themselves. And, like, if you want to, you can just give them, like, change as you drive past them, especially on that road in between. What's that road? I can't remember. But, like, Riverside on your way to Rivonia, and you just, like, Morningside's behind you, I think.
Valley Clare?
Maybe on your way to Parkmore-ish, and then like Branson's on that long dip you go through the valley. There's usually guys that literally are just filling it themselves and just like asking for like $2 or for like just a little bit of money. I don't think they're waiting for anyone to say yes or no. They're just doing it.
Maybe we should just do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do it. I'll have time this afternoon. I'll just go out there with concrete and fill it out.
I beg you.
But if you do it, you also have to redirect traffic, right? Because otherwise they're just going to ride through it before it's set and all the rest of it. So I don't know. I'll let you know.
Please do it, and then just give us feedback.
Yeah, Congo Chris says the answer is so simple: graffiti penises.
Chris,
got you. Yeah, we did throw that in as an idea. All right, so let's talk about some of the comments here, because a lot of people have got interesting things to say. Yonder says, although Zuma and Trump are entertaining, they are very visceral in what they say, and they're polarizing. They dump people, as what we have mostly. Would you say that it's okay to keep Hitler on socials in his ideology? No. So first of all, neither. Let's stop with this this outrageous metaphor of everybody is Hitler if they disagree with you. All right, so neither Jacob Zuma, despite how bad he was for South Africa, nor Donald Trump, despite how some people think he was bad for America, neither of them are Hitler, okay? None of them have genocided a whole race of people. So let's get our euphemisms out of control and make comparisons that are completely ridiculous. I don't like this as bad as Hitler bullshit. It just doesn't make sense. They have problems, both of those people. They have supporters who are problems. Those supporters are not going to go away. And if you take them off of social media, as has happened with Donald Trump, that doesn't stop the people who support them from thinking the things they think. And if you believe that canceling people and that putting them out of range of ordinary folks and their mobile phones is going to solve the problem, you are being stupid, because all that happens is it festers and ferments in other places. And you end up with much, much more extreme stuff. So Yonder, no. The solution to dangerous speech, or to speech that you don't agree with, is more speech, not less. We need to discuss and interrogate the stuff that is unpalatable to us, not try to cancel it and chase it away. You're not going to get rid of it by squashing it. It only gets worse. Argue
I think
about
you encourage those kinds of people to say more and be angrier about more if you remove their leader from social, because you're just feeding into this anger that they already have and this complaint energy that they spew. All they really do is kind of just sit and be mad, and so like the answer isn't.
It's like Julius in court the last few days with this whole kill the farmer thing. If we actually put those people who are hateful, because I don't even like that word. I mean, let's say just people we disagree with, right? Because these days, everybody, if you don't like them, they're hateful to some people. That's not always true. Someone doesn't have to hate you necessarily to say something you disagree with, and vice versa. But let's say someone says something that you think is unacceptable. What you got to do is then sit them down, like Mark Oppenheimer did in this case, and interrogate them about why they think the way they think, why they do the things they do, why they say the things they say, and force them to account for it. If someone says they believe X and Y, but they don't tell you why they believe it, they're probably lying.
Yep.
And if someone says they don't believe in something and they just say it and you've just got to accept it, they're probably lying. Ask them why. Why do you say that? Why do you believe that? Why do you encourage this? And very often they can't account for themselves. And then you make them look like the idiots they are by forcing them to account for themselves when they can't. So I just love when people are forced to actually explain why. News reporters and journalists are meant to ask those questions, but they never do. If you'd said,
because people don't know why. When you ask them why, they don't know.
They don't know why, right?
Nope. It's like it's this sheep mentality. Well, that person said it, so surely it's correct. You haven't done your research. There's no credible source. You don't care, in fact.
Especially politicians. They say things because they think it'll make them popular and get them votes. Those are not people worth believing. Anyway, Steve has the solution to all of our pothole problems. Steve says you just need a dry mix of river sand and cement stamped down, and that works well.
Well, there you've got your recipe, Gareth.
Just dry? Just like that?
Yep, just like that. And let God do the rest.
I don't believe it. Definitely don't believe it.
Gareth, like celebrities are losing their minds these days. I know you didn't see this because you don't care, but are you watching a show called The Wife on Showmax? And I already know the answer to this, but I just had to ask. So there's a really, really popular actor from that show who is like right now one of like the most popular actors. Everybody's always talking about him, blah, blah, blah. So a video of him his name is Bongo something. I know his character name is Umkele, and Simple is going to kill me for not knowing this. But there's a video of him that surfaced where he was like walking into a restaurant, and there was like a lady who was sitting there having lunch, and he literally like said to this lady, "Oh, please can I have some of your food?" And she was like, "Please do." And he just puts his hand, well, not his hand, he takes the fork, has a dip of her pasta, says, "Thank you so much," and just like walks off to his table. And it created this insane uproar yesterday because like, why is a complete stranger coming to my table, asking for my food, and then just going off and living his best life? But the interesting thing was how many people were like, "I'd let him eat off my plate any day. He can eat whatever because he's famous." It's it was quite a divided outroar. His name is Bongo Koza. Yeah, so he's like the most famous guy right now. And everybody's just like, ew, disgusting. And then like other people are like, yeah, he can eat off me whenever he wants. I think celebrities are just losing their minds, to be honest. We're there now. The world is ending.
I don't know the show at all, but I just think a lot of celebrities get away with stuff that the rest of us wouldn't. If you or I walked up to somebody in a restaurant and we took a fork and started eating some of their pasta, they'd probably hit us. They'd hit me. That's for sure.
Dude, like, what are you doing?
It's ridiculous.
It's my food. You're not paying for my food. But anyway, she liked it. The girl whose food was being eaten came up with like a statement and said, it's fine. I asked him. I liked it. Yeah, she's a fan.
Yeah.
But it's scary.
That's great. You know what? Celebrities get away with this stuff because they're famous and sometimes because they're good looking. If it was someone ugly and not well known, she would have probably had a temper tantrum and had them thrown out of the restaurant or complained to management or got a new pasta or whatever. So it's different rules for different people. And again, it's hypocrisy.
Side note, you should definitely watch The Wife, Gareth.
So tell me what it's about, because I've seen billboards for it on the highway.
So I'm not going to tell you about the story itself, but what I will tell you is that it's, I think for me personally, one of the first times where South African stories are being told and delivered in the way that they are delivered. And it's obviously not a true story. It's based on a couple of books, the Hlomu series. So the books were a hit. They are super great, super interesting. And now they've just adapted the book into a series. But the way that they're telling the story, it's not your typical like, oh, South Africa is this place where, oh, you know, black people are suffering, and oh no, but it's it's like, it reminds me of like Tsotsi. Remember the feeling you had when like Tsotsi came out and Jerusalem came out? There was like, oh yeah, you know, like I'm proud in a way of my country because our stories are being told. So I think this is one of the first times where they're taking the production up a notch and we are competing, you know, on a different caliber. It shows you, you know, the life of taxi drivers and the life of, you know, just like real Zuluness, if I can say. And for me, it's all new because I'm not necessarily Zulu. I didn't grow up in KZN. And in as much as it's fiction, it just gives you like that little bit of insight. I really think you should watch it.
No, it sounds good.
Interesting.
I've seen a lot of advertising around it, but I know what you mean about like having to not tell that boring old struggle story again. Like that's the only story that we have to tell in this country. It's nice to see a little bit of actual drama and fiction coming out. And listen, there are some great writers in South Africa, and there are some great stories that we can pull on. I mean, no doubt the series that you're talking about, the book series, was based on like real stuff that happened to real people, kind of put into a fictional realm. Listen, you can get drawn into that stuff. Hey, I mean, there's some of these shows that when you watch one episode, before you know it, you're onto like episode 7 and you're just hooked. And if it's one of those kinds of shows, then I'm scared to even get involved because I know what'll happen. I'll start loving it, and then I won't want to stop watching it.
Yeah, and like no doubt they do show like the real like difficult side of things. So they do show like GBV, they do show the crime and blah blah blah, the stuff that is, you know, that is actually within our country. You can't ignore that stuff. But again, it's like the level of storytelling for me, it's like the production they just bumped it up a bit. So we're not just like, oh, Generation Z is a dingo. This can compete with some really good good stuff.
Well, you are not completely unassailable in your position here. The Wife sucks, according to Ndogozo. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. My girlfriend forced me to watch.
Your girlfriend likes it.
Yeah, so in your household, one likes, one doesn't. Ndogozo. It still gives Lebang 2 points and you 1. Sorry, just pointing that out.
To each their own, though.
Yonder says cancel culture doesn't solve anything. In current climates, we don't have journalists who really ask why and for what Zuma did in South Africa. It's sad and has left many people suffering. Rather limit them than cancel them. Yeah, I agree. That's the whole point. I mean, we don't believe in cancel. We believe in more conversation, more talk, more points of view, more opinions. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's about right for everybody. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions, including what do you put in potholes, which seems to be a whole thing. People are saying, well, you've got to use river sand because it's moist with a little bit of dry cement powder. I'm not an expert in this, but if you're going to fill in potholes, let's do it properly. Let's make sure we put the right mixture in there so it doesn't get worse, because otherwise it just opens up again, right?
Exactly.
In a couple of months, it's back and it's worse than before. It's back.
Back like it never left. Driving to work, like when I do come to the office, is always like such a trip because I know for sure that it's just going to be a rocky road, especially down here, like right here on Wessels. The potholes were just horrendous, so much so that Simpiwe and I actually wanted to do a TikTok about it, like a pothole count in
Do
Rivonia.
it. Do
But
it,
we
do it,
couldn't.
do it.
We couldn't do it. It's like the universe heard us. Like a week later, they started fixing all of them. So now they're all fixed.
Yeah, I was talking about that yesterday. I said that it's amazing that sometimes these things just quietly get solved, like a couple of weeks down the line. You're obviously complaining, oh, these potholes, I've got to avoid these things swerving and my tires are going to get ruined. But then like a couple of days later, someone has gone and fixed them. So I don't know who these magic fairies are that do it, but good for them.
We thank you for the work that you do. And like, it's the suburbs. Like whenever I have cousins come over who live in the townships, they always get so surprised at some of the problems in inverted commas that we have. It's like, you guys get load shedding too. And it's obviously like a joke because we all get load shedding, but it's always like, then what's the difference? Like I live in the hood. We barely have potholes in the hood, but in the suburbs, there's potholes for days. You know, it's just always interesting. Like when you're sitting on the other side of it, it's like, but you guys, you know, shouldn't be having this many. And it's like, yeah, we do. It's real.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, so listen, Tracy sent me a picture of her boy in the bee outfit. Do you want to see?
Yay.
Because they're doing a, what do they call it? Like a soapbox derby at his school. And Lebang is going to do a baking sale today at the school. So all the mums are working extra hard. But here's Tracy's son in the bee outfit that she made for him. Bubble wrap wings. There we go.
Bubble wrap.
little banded T-shirt. That's so sweet, man.
Oh,
very cute.
That's dope. That's very dope.
Well done, Tracy. You're a good mom. Good for you.
I would have just gone to the shop and just found something that looks like a bee outfit or like a costume store or something. Like to sit and have to make it. It's the time part of it that just like for me is like a bit triggering.
No. There's too much
going on. You, Tracy. That's nice.
G-Star says, if you haven't seen Tainted Heroes, you've got to watch that. I don't know what that's about, so let us know more details. But yeah, listen, I've got such a backlog of series I have to get through. And I'm always scared to start a series because, as I said just now, if I do like it, then I'm just going to be obsessed and I'm going to have to watch all the episodes. You know what I mean? It's exhausting. It's like, I know that there are people who are genuinely exhausted from work and, you know, physical exercise and stuff. But if I'm into a series, I have to watch the whole damn thing. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm not paying attention and I'm not getting into it properly. So I don't know. I got to figure out which one of these I have to put in the front of the queue and which ones I can put in the back of the queue. And there's a lot. I've got 5 series that people are telling me I have to watch. Justin says, just look at Sandhurst, one of the most expensive areas. Many politicians live there and the roads are screwed. If they can't get it right there, we're all screwed. Yeah. Where was I? I was driving around in Sandhurst not too long ago. Not too bad, but yeah, like anywhere, the roads are a bit of a mess. So we'll have to see. Corona's Boring says, I've been planting yellow woods under the power lines to teach the municipality when they need to trim the verges. Or why they need to trim the verges. Okay, all right. Don't know if that's helpful, though. Regarding potholes, you can buy an expensive tar premix, apparently. Yeah, but you see, we're not going to do that.
With whose money?
Our money, exactly.
Yeah. No.
Chris says Patricia DeLille moved into their neighborhood and they no longer get load shedded. Ooh. So that's what we need to do. Invite a politician into the neighborhood.
All will be sorted.
No, I'm not sure I like that. Not good. Also, Patricia DeLille, wasn't she the one who was anti-corruption most of her career? Isn't she the one who was like, no, I must be treated like everyone else? If she moves into a neighborhood and they stop getting load shedding, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I don't know how true that is. I think Chris is just pulling our legs.
So talking about that series that G-Star said, Tainted Heroes, this is what it's about. It's the full story of what happened pre-elections in 94, how the ANC were trained and tasked by communists to wage a war against fellow black South Africans. Remember the necklacing? Okay, so that's interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Tainted Heroes. I'll take a look at that.
Where can we watch that?
I don't know. Yeah, tell us where we can watch that, G-Star. One could remove all the loose gravel and dust out of the pothole, fill the pothole with crusher, stamp in layer for layer, and the top 2 millimeters over the hole is a seal. Tar the top. Yo, that's complicated. You see, this is why we need someone who knows what they're doing. I'm telling you, if I do this, it's going to be a disaster. Sorry. Thank you, H.W. Roo. I'm not. You've put me off now. Sounds too complicated.
You know when you buy something new and they give you like an instruction manual on how to piece it together. That's what that sounded like. It sounded like the instructions, and those instructions are never as simple as just put this and that, and it's always some long-winded. Yeah, no, I'm quite put off of the idea of you even doing it.
Build your own bookshelf, where you have the instruction manual and like put this into there, and then you end up with one more piece at the end of it all, and you're like, where does this thing go?
Oh, one less piece.
Or one less.
And then you're really screwed. I've never actually bought something that I need to build for myself and have built it to completion. I always get stuck somewhere and say, yeah, well, it kind of does look nice slanted to the left. I'll just leave it like that, and then I just call it fashion. Literally, dude, I don't know what it is. I don't think DIY is my vibe, but like in my soul and heart of hearts, I know I want to so badly be good at it. I bought a table, like a desk from, what's it called? From, I forgot what they're called, but it's got like 3 drawers. Dog, when I got to the middle one, I was like, I'm so hurtful. I've just had to YouTube how to put in a drawer. I'm just going to leave this last one out. And to this day, I've got 2 drawers on the side, and in the middle is just this empty block. And when people walk into my room, they go, oh, that's a nice desk. I go, thank you. Yeah, I'm the only one who has this one. It is so unique to me because my ass is lazy. But yeah, you have to keep it moving. Those instructions are no ways.
I can be pretty handy with the DIY stuff, but then I know exactly what you're talking about. So when some people want to be, but they're really not. Is that what you're saying with you? It's like you've tried with tools and nails and hammers, all that shit, but it's just not your thing.
God has shown me time and time again that it's just not for me. It's not my strength. It's not my gift. I must just walk away, but I'm here defying the odds and saying, I will pick up the tool and I will screw this nail in. I have no cooking clue what I'm doing. And those things are nice. When you see like some of the desks on like Superbalist and the chairs, they fancy as hell. So you want to have them, but hey, who's going to build that? Nah.
Well, I can't build complicated things, but I did put up some shelves here late last year. Put up some shelves, built a little cupboard, but nothing complicated. I mean, I'm by no means the guy when it comes to DIY, but I can do the basics. And I mean, I'm always doing maintenance around here, fixing this, hammering that in, painting this. I can do that stuff, and I'm pretty handy. I like it.
Is it like floating shelves, or is it the ones where you just put those? Like there's levels to shelves, G. Like you can't just say shelves.
Since you are, it's a floating shelf. I put up it's just 2 of them, but I put them up in this. It's sort of an outside area, and I thought we'll need some shelves there to put stuff. And I did it all exactly right. I thought it through, planned it. They always say, plan it twice and only have to do it once. Otherwise, if you rush the planning stage, you're going to end up having to fix a disaster afterwards. So I did it right. So, all right. I'm not going to go into too much of this because it's boring to other people, but there we go.
But I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
All right. It's time for us to take a look at This Is Us, which, of course, every week is our opportunity to look in the mirror and share our mutual concern of finding new solutions through new ideas and new alliances to overcome a myriad of obstacles that are currently facing South Africa. Every week, as you know, we introduce you to some thought leaders and visionaries, and today we will do exactly the same thing. But first, let me welcome Yatish Nasi, who is our co-host on the show. It is time for another episode. Yatish, how are you doing?
Good, and you? Morning, everybody.
Hey.
Awesome. So Yatish and Lebang and I have had some amazing guests in the last couple of weeks. People like Bonang Mohale, people like Songeza Zibi, and we continue to speak to people who are making a huge difference and people who know what the challenges that face us are. This morning, it is an honor and pleasure to chat to Ms. Mankoe Insaba, who is the chairperson of the board of the Kagiso Trust. Mankoe has been on the board of the Kagiso Trust since 2009 as the deputy chair and the chair of programs committee for the last 6 years. She runs her own management consulting business in the water and sanitation sector, and she previously worked as a researcher and consultant at the CSIR. She's also worked as a lecturer at the universities of Zululand and Transkei. And lastly, she sits on the board of Rand Water. So it is a great pleasure to welcome you. Mankoe, nice to see you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for hosting me. It's really a pleasure to be here. And good morning to yourself, Gareth. Good morning to Yatish, and good morning to
Lebang. Lebang.
Morning.
Lebang.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice to have you on. So first of all, we've got a lot to talk about with water and all the rest of it. But I want to talk first of all about just one or two of these things that are obviously top of the pile. And as chairperson of the Kagiso Trust, you can talk to us about a number of things that you guys are involved in. But I just want to go to the first and most obvious thing. So Angie Mochecha actually lauded the Free State in the 2021 matric results because she said they were the top of the pile for 2021 after it achieved a pass rate, that's the province, of 85.7%. That's an improvement of 0.6%, which sounds like not a lot, but it is. It's a huge change. That's a couple of thousand matric pupils. Now, the national matric pass rate was 76.4%. That's quite a lot behind. It's 9.7% lower than the Free State managed to achieve. Sounds like a ray of hope. So I'm just wondering, since you guys at the Kagiso Trust look at so many different things, do you think that the Free State and the way that they've been administering the matric results and the way that they've been teaching people in the Free State, do you think that that is a ray of hope and could give us some indication of the direction we should be heading in? Because we know how much of a concern matric and the matric results are for so many parents and students, and also for people who are looking for jobs afterwards.
Gareth, the Free State Department of Education has been our partner at Kagiso Trust for quite a number of years, and we implemented what we generally call the BEAS Modias Close Development Program. The model is structured such that, before we start the program, we conduct needs analysis and determine whether the schools have the basic elements of a functional school. And we also take consideration the profile of the area we are working in, the socio-economic challenges, and the strength of the model is in the partnership, cooperation, community mobilization, understanding that in a partnership, each party brings its strengths to the alliance. And we found traction in the Free State. We have been working in many other places, but we found traction in the Free State. And we've been working with the Free State together with other partners, I must say, not just ourselves.
So this is very good. This is very good news, Mankoe, because obviously I didn't know that the Kagiso Trust was as involved as you say they are. But this proves that if you get these partnerships right and you bring in people who know what they're doing, even in a place like the Free State, which has been disappointing up until very recently, and even with all of the challenges that our matrics currently face, you can fix these problems can be fixed. And it takes a lot of willpower, and it takes a little bit of effort and time, and sometimes a little bit of money, but it's totally solvable, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we've tested this model in the Free State, and we looked at the various elements, and we realized that with a partnership, starting off with the whole village, we have now started a campaign that says education, the whole village must participate. You bring in partners in the private sector. For instance, in the Free State, we're not working alone. We also have our one of our entities, KST, which used to be called Kagiso Shanduka Trust. Yes. We brought in the First Rand Empowerment Fund, brought in Anglo-American, I'll not list them all. But that partnership makes a huge difference because we bring various strengths, we bring various resources, and we actually tackle a problem which should not actually be tackled by government or the Department of Education alone. And we want to stress this one, that It's not about government alone.
This is what they mean when they talk about public-private partnerships, right? This is what people are talking about. Can you just give us, just because many people who are listening for the first time this morning or who might not know what the Kagiso Trust is, just tell us what the Kagiso Trust is and how it was established and what the purpose of the Kagiso Trust is, so we can just get the context for that.
Okay, thanks. Let's go back to 1985 when Kagiso Trust was established by luminaries such as Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Reverend Dr. Beyers Nutie, Reverend Shikani, Reverend Busak, and many other luminaries. Dr. Max Coleman, that we just passed about a month ago. And it was really meant to support parents and, let me just say, victims of apartheid. There were parents, there were students, and it was funded by the European Union. And it kept on supporting those who were victims of apartheid. It supported community centers. It supported those who needed legal services to fight their cases against the state in court. And Kagiso Trust then later, in the, I could say, mid-90s, just after 94, when the European Union pulled out its funding and started funding through government. Kagiso Trust had visionaries such as Ndate Eric Mulobi, who realized that the trust cannot just rely on let me not call them handouts, that's not fair. Donations, yes. And started the investment company called, at that time it was called Kagiso Trust Investments. So that the dividends that come out of those investments can then fund the programs of Kagiso Trust. That is how we are funding our programs today. Many NGOs folded, but because of that vision of Ndate Mulobi and others, Kagiso Trust survived, and we're still using those dividends to fund these programs today. And today we're not only working in education, we also support socio-economic development in the agriculture and property space. We also have a program that supports civil society. We realize that without a strong, vibrant, aggressive, I might say, civil society, we are not going anywhere. And we are now supporting civil society. We also realize that a lot of service delivery in the country comes through local governance. I don't want to say local government. I want to say local governance. So we have another program that supports local governments, supporting local government together with stakeholders and civil society organizations in a particular local government space. So that's what we are in a nutshell.
That's a lot for us to kind of get into our heads, but it must be very rewarding to be a part of an organization that is doing and has done so much for ordinary South Africans and that is working across the board. I'm going to let Yatish and Lebang ask you about some of the specifics of what you at the Kagiso Trust are involved in at the moment. Lebang, you want to ask about the situation in Sekhukhune?
Yeah, I did want to ask about social cohesion first, because it really is something that we speak about quite often here on This Is Us. All the guests that we engage in, we really put a lot of emphasis on, enabling collaboration, harnessing the power of community. Just earlier on, I was just telling Gareth about certain projects that don't succeed just because of that lack of inclusion of the community that lives in those areas. And so I'm glad that you put an emphasis on that, because on one end, it's encouraging this sense of community and unity through amongst us all, and that round table concept where we're looking at one another for solutions. But on a more basic level, in your opinion, what can normal South Africans, our communities, our parents, our children, our families, what can they do to improve the state of education specifically in our country?
We've been in this space for quite a while. And we picked up that certain things work, certain things don't work, and certain things only work when people work together. Yeah. And this whole issue about social cohesion, we saw it in For instance, in the very Free State, in the district of Maluti Apofung, there've been lots of service delivery protests that actually impacted negatively on the education outcomes in that district.
That's Kwakwa, right?
That's it, yes.
No.
That's in the Kwakwa district, the old Kwakwa. Yes, and in the absence of communities, members, your church, your business people, your taxi association, your everybody coming together and saying, we have one objective, and that objective is getting education for our children. Let me give an example. There is one, I'll not name the place because I'm not sure whether, I'm allowed to, but the whole social cohesion came together. Example was, taxi drivers refused to carry learners who don't produce a letter of absence from the school during school hours. That alone tells you that community is together. They demand a letter with today's stamp from the learner who's trying to get into the taxi, and many other small things in the community. We know that our Shibin owners are still selling alcohol to students in uniform, but if the community comes together, that immediately stops, because everybody is now looking at the taxi drivers will ask the Shibin owners, what are you doing? The parents will ask the taxi owners, what are you doing? The church will then ask the parents, what are you doing? And that social cohesion is extremely important. And I dare say, without it, I don't think we are going to see any progress.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I've got a lot of questions. I'll start with the first one. I think, everything you're saying, it just even previously I'd looked at the work of a guy I'm sure you probably know better than we do. It's a guy called Jeffrey Canada, who runs the Harlem Children's Zone, like their little education program. And the thing he says that like really resonated with me is, education is a community challenge, not a learning one, right? Yes. Which I guess talks to everything you're saying. So the first question for me, I guess, is often we're quite focused on the environment within schools, like is teaching doing okay, is whatever. But obviously what you're talking about here is things like the role of the church, the role of transport networks like the taxi drivers, the role of kind of stores and Shibin owners, etc. What have you noticed outside of the Free State, like supporting factors that are important for the school in the middle, right? So if the school is the thing in the middle that's going to benefit from a range of other supporting factors, I mean, do we have those? I mean, I'm sure with all the work you guys have done, you're starting to really get a sense of what those are. And some of them you've mentioned. But then how do you, or how does a community start to enact all of those? I mean, in the work you guys do, are there specific programs? Do you engage sort of the local taxi organizations? Do you engage the Shibin owners? How do you go about creating that social cohesion, or is it something the community does naturally, or do you mobilize the community? I'm not sure. I'm just curious to know how you've managed to achieve it in certain areas.
Community mobilization is a huge part of our model of education. A case in point that I'd like to make an example of is, you may know of Botshabelo in the Muteo district of the Free State. Botshabelo is one of those places that have got a lot of crime, substance abuse, teenage pregnancy, learners with no proper documentation, all sorts of problems. And when KST, as I said, one of our entities, entered Muteo, they formed, together with the Muteo Education District, they established what is called BEDCOM, Botshabelo Education Committee, which involved the Department of Education, the parents, your business people, everybody in the community, and started to put together programs and that would deal with issues of substance abuse. task teams. They then formed task teams. How do we deal with substance abuse? How do we deal with teenage pregnancy, which is now a major problem to the education system now? How do we deal with learners who just don't have IDs and their families? It's just dysfunctional communities that just need a glue, because all of these resources, some of these resources are present in the community. There are people who are willing to put their resources in order to improve education. But there's just this need for this glue, which in this case was the BEDCOM, that committee, which then started programs of tackling some of these problems. And the local business people are always so eager to then contribute to this program, because some of them, require some funding to run properly, and the local businesses chipped in to assist. So that glue is really required.
Mankoe, also to Yatesh's point, you really can't solve all the problems at once, right? And this is where it becomes difficult for organizations like the Kagiso Trust, because as much as you have the will and the determination and sometimes some of the resources to be able to achieve some of this, you have to eat an elephant one bite at a time. And you guys have done this in the Free State, which I love. Are there plans to expand this into other provinces? We know that, for example, Limpopo, they've had a really, really tough time, and our matric results in Limpopo are terrible. They're dismal. They don't compare very well to the Free State. If you've had success in the Free State, can you blueprint that and now transfer it to other provinces and start to make a difference there as well?
Would you believe me when I tell you that this program actually started in Limpopo in 2004?
Really?
Yes, it did.
Wow.
In Limpopo, in 2004, we were working in Limpopo in the district of Vembe. And many of you'll know that Vembe is still a reasonably well-performing district in Limpopo and in the country, actually, I might say. You will know of some schools like Mbiri School that is always talked about in the media and so on. We were there in 2004. And for some reason, in Limpopo then, we really did not find the level of traction that we found in the Free State. But now we are back in Limpopo in the Sekhukhune district, which is just as problematic as the Botshabelo in the Free State. The problems are similar. The social ills are similar. And we hope it's really perhaps we could call it a blueprint, but all areas are different. That's why when we get there, the first thing to do is to do a needs analysis, analyze what are the needs in the schools, and analyze the place itself to say what are the socio-economic challenges, which may not necessarily be the same as those in the Free State. Remember, in Sekhukhune, we are also dealing with a lot of mines. We're dealing with migrant labor. We are dealing with migrant hostels, and I don't need to tell you what are the social ills associated with migrant labor and those hostels nearby the communities. It's a huge challenge.
Right.
I mean, here's another question. I mean, because what I suppose, I wouldn't say concerns me, but the things to sort of think about is, to your point, there are all these factors around education that have to be resolved. And one of the other challenges we face, and I think the sort of president alluded to it, this idea of a kind of digital divide. The sort of double-edged sword for us is, even if we solve the challenges around education, the actual curriculum itself, we've also got to pay attention to, is that future fit? Is that helping us? And while we're busy here, we may neglect the middle. I'm not saying we do, but it is a potential blind spot. So the random question I have is there a role for private schools in terms of whether it's knowledge sharing, whether it's like, curriculum sharing, skill sharing? I don't know. It's just because it feels like those environments, and I think the stats are, what is it? I read it was 12 million in public schools, 600,000 in private schools. So, it feels for me like private schools might not have similar socioeconomic challenges around. So they're really focused on their curriculum, right? So can you leverage all of their work in curriculum? And I don't know, do they share? Can they share? Is that something you already look at, or is there a possibility to create that partnership?
There is a possibility. We've actually discussed it previously about pairing of schools. I think in some there are some programs that are run by a private sector where private schools are paired with less resourced schools, and they share resources. They share perhaps a library once a week or once in a while. They share their sports ground. They share their facilities, and also their teachers share challenges of curriculum, and it's doable. But then when you get to places like Sikukuni, where do you find a private school in Sikukuni East? It's just not there. The nearest private school will be 100 or 150 kilometers away, or 200 kilometers away. So yes, it's a model that should be investigated and followed up, and it works. But when you get to those deep rural areas where you don't even have that private school in the neighborhood, it just won't help.
So let's just talk about some of the other situations around education that are complicated in South Africa and that are more or less unique to us, and we've got to find ways of dealing with these. So the month of February is actually called Pregnancy Awareness Month. I mean, every day has got some kind of awareness attached to it, but it's ironic that we should be in the month of February and have you on for this. Now, one of the reasons that we know that learners in this country don't go back after COVID-19 or whatever is because a large number of these girls are pregnant now. And the really terrible part about this is some of them are even pregnant with the children of educators, of teachers. And we know that this happens in certain schools. It's an awful thing. But apparently 23,000 teenage pregnancy cases in Gauteng alone. Mankoe, this is not good. How can we even begin to tackle a problem like this?
Again, as you rightly say, it's outside the classroom. It's outside the school. It's a societal issue that impacts on the school. And I think, we already had problems of teenage pregnancies, but COVID-19, which kept children out of school, was actually a catalyst for this disaster that we find ourselves in. And you find these pregnancies in poorer communities where the children did not even do online schooling. Remember when COVID struck and there was that hard lockdown, children from urban schools, even or from well-to-do families, continued online.
Yeah.
Which means they were busy throughout the day. They continued online.
Right.
But students or learners from poorer communities did not go to school at all. And what were they doing when the parents were at work?
So what do we even do?
Now. And I think it's actually broader than just the pregnancies. The crime, the substance abuse, but it's just that the pregnancy results in a permanent situation, and it alters the life of that girl forever. And I think we should go back to the village concept. What is my role in the village? I mean, we're here saying this is us. And what is my role in the village? What am I doing in the village? Where are those activities that are meant to keep children busy when the parents are away or are at work? It's bigger than individual institutions. It's bigger than the education department. What should we be demanding from our leaders and from our government?
I mean, part of this is also that we tend to defer all the blame to government. I mean, I even see in the comments some people saying, well, people in government, politicians, it's in their interest to keep people stupid and uneducated. You hear this a lot. But the fact is, we tend to put all the responsibility on government, maybe not enough on parents, maybe not enough on communities at large, because all of these things have a role to play. All of these groups have a role to play. It's not just government, right? I mean, Mankoe, it's easy to blame government, and that's what South Africans do most of the time. Like you would, like you're a kid who's grown up, and all you do is blame your parents for all the bad things that have happened to you. You eventually have to take responsibility for yourself, right? And some people are doing this. I like the way that the Kagiso Trust is getting involved in all of this, but as Lebang asked you just a little bit earlier, there's a part of this that is about us. Get involved, whether you have kids in schools or not. There's a way that you can help. There's a way that you can keep the community working properly. You can chase out the bad people. You can make sure that there are protections, that there are ways to make sure that we have almost like a social safety net where people look after each other and look out for each other rather than just blaming government when it doesn't work.
Yeah, but
true. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Mom. It's not all bad. I think it's easy for us to just focus on like the problems of this, the problems of that. I know that the Talus report highlighted some key areas with some positive, which is on one end it's all the stuff that's constantly happening, and we can list the problems, but there are some good results. So for instance, at least 88% of teachers surveyed report that attending and participating in courses and seminars actually had a positive impact on their teaching practice. So there are teachers that still, are trying to do this right, are not getting, overly obsessed with all the bad, and are doing their best to still focus on making sure that they do their best to produce these kids. And also at least 97% of teachers in South Africa cited that the opportunity to influence children's development or contribute to society was a major workplace motivation. So Mankoe, we're seeing that there is still hope. Do you believe that enough is being done, though, in order to train our teachers to get to that level?
Yeah, let me start with what Gareth raised earlier. We cannot continue our lamentations without solutions.
Yeah.
We cannot be lamenting government failure, this government failure, that government failure, that. Those lamentations are not going to solve our problems. We really have to step up. And even if, yes, we have to engage government, but when we engage government, we should be coming up with solutions or suggestions that can create solutions to say, perhaps this is a way to go, and where you have failed, you failed because, and we are coming with a solution. And therefore, let us try and solve the solution one way or another. Indeed, the Talus report indicates some, pockets of success and pockets of sometimes even excellence. And there's a lot that is being done in terms of developing teachers, but still more can be done. We have realized in Kagiso Trust that teacher training is not just about curriculum or subject. Teacher training also requires some softer skills, empathy, critical thinking, all those skills which sometimes are not there in the current teaching curriculum. And it is where I say we should be engaged in government to say the teaching curriculum must, by default, include some of these skills, which teachers are saying, whenever we have been to training, outside the classroom, training in courses that assist us engage with children, it makes a huge difference. That is why I'm glad about that 97%. They say whenever we have been exposed to this type of training, we feel empowered and emboldened to do things differently. And we do have at Kagiso Trust a program of retreats where we assist teachers with skills that they may not have attained at varsity or at teacher training.
Right. I mean, we've also got to remember that teachers are also people, and that
Definitely.
a lot of the time they come from a background where they've been taught the skills of how to actually do the curriculum stuff that Yatish mentioned earlier, but they don't always have the life skills themselves. And some of them are young people who just come come straight out of university or teachers training college, and perhaps will make bad decisions, just like the learners will make bad decisions along the way. It's good to know that there are organizations that are able to train and retrain these teachers, because actually, as I said earlier, government can't do anything about two people sleeping together, even though they shouldn't be. Government can't be in the bedroom policing that stuff. It's not government's responsibility. So we have to take responsibility ourselves as the community, as learners, as teachers, as parents, as people who have relatives and friends in the system. We've got to start making a difference on the outside, right?
Completely. I think we should be pushing for communities that work despite government. Government is there to run certain programs, to do certain service deliveries, but we really cannot fold our arms and hope that government will intervene in every sphere of life.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I'd like to appeal really to people out there to say, step up and join your community forums and assist.
Yeah, Mankoe, we don't have a lot of time left. But one thing we often ask our guests is, because usually we sort of talk about their sort of challenges, and even in 30 minutes of dealing with it, you're kind of like, whoa, this is a really complex problem. And often the thing we do ask them is, for you guys to get up every day and do what you do at the trust, you obviously see hope. There's obviously, you wouldn't be doing it if you don't see it. So, are you still optimistic about what can be done, and why? What keeps you guys, I suppose, continuing to do what you do?
Yatish, a quick example that makes you wake up in the morning and go and do some of this work is when you see a child that you picked from beyond, and you see that child grow up into a grown man and a grown woman who is successful in his or her career. There's a young man that we met in KZN some years back. His name is, I didn't even ask for permission to use his name. His name is Nkosi Kumalo. Nkosi was in one of the schools that we supported in KZN. He went on to study mechanical engineering. And recently, he attained his MBA at the University of Pretoria's Gordon Institute of
Amazing
Business Science. Now,
I just have to say, Mankoe, he's actually listening to us now, and Nkosi just actually sent us a message to say, I am one of the Kagiso Trust's Eric Molobi scholarship program beneficiaries. Thank you for sharing the insights. So here he is. He's actually part of the show this morning.
That there are many of those Nkosis. There are so many. Actually, in March this year, Kagiso Trust is going to call a conference of alumni from 1985 to today. All people who have been touched by the trust to come and say, how can we assist? How can we crowdfund? How can we bring brains together? How can, and we are convinced that those people, because we've set certain values in them, they're going to be able to come together and assist.
It's amazing stuff, and you had the proof is in the pudding. You've got people you've got people who are coming out of the good work that the trust does and the scholarship programs and so on, and we see the results in the Free State. And I mean, enough of the talk. You guys are actually doing this stuff. It's not just talk. You're making it happen. Congratulations on the work that the trust has been involved in the Free State. We look at that as a shining example. May we be able to pull all of our provinces up, just as we have the Free State. And please don't stop the good work that you do at the Kagiso Trust. Obviously, as Yatish says, there's hope there, and you give the rest of us hope. And we need to remind ourselves that there are solutions to all of our problems. These are practical things that we can deal with, and you're doing that every single day. So thank you, Mankoe. What a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me on. I wish we could have had an hour or two.
Well, we got to save something for next time. But thank you so much.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to Glebol Nkosi and to everybody else who contributed to this last half hour with This Is Us. You can find all of the This Is Us podcasts, including all of the discussions we've had with various leaders in society, various people who are out there saying what we really need to hear and holding up that mirror to us. This Is Us will continue next Tuesday, same time, same place. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Just chill.